Production support for Hot and Cold is brought to you by American Solar Technics, manufacturers of components for wood burning and solar heating systems.
Hey, I'm Tom Gozy. This week on Hot and Cold, we got a crew working with me, and we're putting siding on the building. We're doing a new product called Hardieplank, and it's really cool. It's better than I thought it was, and that's always a good thing, and because I have high expectations. You know that about me. Stay with us. We're going to have a good, fun show today. We'll be right back. Well, like I say, we're doing siding this week. We're making tremendous progress because I have Jim and George helping me, and things are just clipping right along. It's a tough project to put siding up by yourself. 2 extra hands, especially folks who know what they're doing. They've done this more than I have using this particular product. Really does make a difference. Hardieplank is kind of a unique product. What it is a clapboard. They make other configurations, but we're doing a clapboard here today. The clapboard is a plank. It's called Hardieplank for a reason. It's about 5/16, 3/8 of an inch thick, and it lays on the wall just like clapboards, and it overlaps. But what's unique about it is it's cement and cellulose fiber blended together. So if you remember the old-time asbestos siding that actually looked kind of odd because they didn't do this kind of configuration, what was cool about that is it held paint like $1 million, and it was very rugged. But it had asbestos in it. Hardieplank has replaced the asbestos with cellulose fiber. And the cellulose fiber holds together. It's a very rugged material. What's great about it is it comes in 12-foot planks. So it comes in planks like this. These are 12 feet long. They are extremely straight. They don't bow. They don't have any defects in them. They come pre-primed. You can actually get them pre-painted. This looks actually like it's pre-painted. And a friend of mine used Hardieplank on a commercial building of his, and you know, he was so impressed with the primer color that they replicated it as the painted color for the building. It really looks nice. Pre-primed, it holds paint forever. You can see, let's go over and take a look up close. So we've got this side done. This is the other, we're obviously working on one gable end today. This is the other gable end that we finished. And what do you notice about this? There's no nail showing. It's all blind nailed. It's nailed up behind, and the next plank goes over it, hides all the fasteners. So there's almost no fasteners exposed. There's a few where pieces might butt together up high, but for the most part it's like this. No fasteners. So there's no nail heads to hide when you go to paint. It is very square, very crisp looking. You know, it looks like wood, because it's configured the same way, but it's dimensionally a lot more stable. It holds paint a lot better because it is a somewhat porous material being made out of cement. And that once paint's put on it, it will stay on there a very long time. What else can I tell you about it? It costs about the same as wood. One of the things, because the house I live in, I did a lot of wood siding. We put pine on everything. And the one thing I recollect, thinking back, oh, those many years ago, was the wood would go this way, it would go that way. It was all over the place. This stuff, you just saw the 12-foot piece, nice and straight, and level as can be. So it forgives a lot right off the bat. So it's very simple to work with. The negatives, minor negatives, we're dealing with cement. So we have to use diamond-toothed blades. The blades last a very long time. Tends to be a little bit dusty when you cut it. We'll see that in a minute. And but with the right blades, a day like today, it is so windy down here. it doesn't matter. You just get so the wind blows any dust away. The diamond blades don't generate that much dust. I was using a carbide blade the other day when I first started doing this. That generates a lot of dust. So the right tool for the job makes it go very easy. The other thing we're doing, we'll show you in a minute also, is we're shooting nails in. We're using stainless steel fasteners for this. So what we've got, I'm going to grab a box. Oh, I can't, I locked myself out. I'll show you those in a minute. We've got coiled stainless steel nails. We're using a pneumatic nailer. A little harder to nail through, but it can be nailed through with a hammer and nail. But when you're doing this kind of situation, a pneumatic nailer works real well. Where we're working with something like foam building panels and we don't have solid wood behind the sheathing, we're using a roofing nail. We're using the stainless steel roofing nail, and we're maybe every 16 inches with a fastener, just to make sure that we have very adequate anchoring of this on this coastal location where we don't want to have any issues. So you don't have to use stainless fasteners inland. We're using it here because the ocean's right over there and we don't want to have rust bleeding down through, and everything else outside is stainless steel fasteners. So we want to make sure that we carry that through in the whole process. So the only thing that's left to do now is we need to caulk the joints here where it butts up against the wall and put paint on it. And that's going to be easy because this isn't a big house. But I tell you what, let's do this. Let's take a quick break and we're going to show you how the siding goes up. And I think you'll be impressed. You know, the thing that struck me about this is how cool it looks. It looks better than I even remember it. And maybe it's because it's the house I'm working on. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Hey, we're back. And we're on the back. This is really the only side left to do. Jim and George and I are just blowing through this thing. So what we're going to do is put up some clapboards, and of course we're using the pneumatic nailer, and we've got them pre-cut because we are so prepared, aren't we, Jim? So we're just going to shoot in a nail, and we just go, that should be a little bit lower. See, now I have to do it right because you guys are watching. And a lot of times we double check with the level. Jim's got a 6-foot level because he's a professional and I'm not. And we get right on the mark. Put one there. And if I have it on tape, I don't know if it shows, but if you do it right, if you do it like this, ready? Blows your hat up. Of course, you don't, then if you do that on TV, you don't get it in the right place. We've been going about every 16 inches for spacing this. And if we stop messing around, it goes very quick. Now I had a tape measure. It's over. It's behind you, Jim. I got it. Where are we going up? 3 3/4. With the understanding that nothing I construct is plumb level or anywhere near what it's supposed to be, we adjust to make sure that things break where we want them to. So we make minor modifications along the way. And that's the beauty of working with guys who do this all the time. These guys have done several buildings with this. And just having the experience factor, they know that if you jockey this spacing a little bit, the idea here is that we get the bottom edge here going on this edge here. And that's the way it's come out around windows and doors, and it just makes a big difference in the way everything goes together. So right now, all we'll keep doing is banging this stuff out. If I stop talking, we get something done, wouldn't we?
4 inches.
Oh, we're going 4 inches. I had a marker. Thank you. Let me lose that too while we're at it. And you're marked there.
There's one in the middle already.
Okay. And of course we measure everyone because, as I said, things are not level or plumb, or you don't assume that they're where they're supposed to be, because many times they're not. Oop. And there's my pen. 4?
I'm going to come down from the top.
Okay.
I'm going to come down 8 inches. And we're going to Let's run a line across here, okay?
Okay.
Make
Yep.
some
4 inches, you say? All right. You can see we're trying to keep, whenever you do this, the nail heads are all covered by the next clapboard.
I don't belong to me, I bet belong to me. Oh, I make you go hunting, and I want to make you bundle out of good man. Oh, shoot him in the bridges, I bet you're gonna do my. Oh, shoot him in the bed with me, I say, shoot him in the bed with me.
Well, we're back, and what a difference a little bit of time makes. We've finished the project, and let's talk a little bit about the details. We've got a little time left here. We're on the gable end I showed you a little bit earlier, and again, this is just prime, so what you see on the siding is dirt and stuff that it's picked up as it's been moved around and the rest. But I'm really beginning to like this color a lot, which is sort of a wheat color, and that might very well be the color that we wind up with on the house. I wanted to show you the fasteners up close here. These are the stainless steel nails we were shooting in. They're just basically a roofing nail, and we used a pneumatic nailer, of course. And that's just a good tool for this kind of project. With this kind of nail, that's a stout enough nail you can hammer it, and you can nail right through it. And of course, we have full pieces here, and this is all just shot in. One thing, you know, every so often something doesn't lie right because the house is lumpy or somebody did something weird. So then when you go to these nails, these are traditional stainless steel siding nails, and that's a ring shank stainless nail. And the problem you have when you go to put a nail like that in, like here, that nail is probably going to bend trying to nail this thin shanked fastener through Hardieplank. So a punch works very well, or I was using even a stouter nail, stouter than a regular roofing nail, to start a hole for me, and then I would go to the skinny ring shank nail. And I've got some areas over here where it's a little bit lumpy, or I've got some pieces that are butted together where it came out. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get right up here and point to it. See right there? That piece of plank is out a little bit. I've got to get up on the ladder. I haven't caulked that yet, and we need to just tie that down. Just more for shadow lines and aesthetics more than anything else. And we also have to caulk these joints. We want to leave a little bit of a gap in the Hardieplank where it comes together like this, or where it butts up against the building, so we allow for expansion and contraction because it is a hygroscopic material. It will expand and contract. It's cement, and cement does move a little bit with moisture. So we want to allow for that. And you can see here aesthetically, it's not really an issue. We've already got all this caulked, and we're not talking about gigantic gaps, but we do want to make sure that we have that expansion joint. Let's go look around a little bit, see what we've got. Now, of course, we have ASIC trim on the building, which is our plastic trim, the cellular PVC trim we put up. And of course, the front facade is done. everything just knits right together. One thing we did, and I wasn't sure we were going to be able to do it, the top plank slipped right underneath that bottom freeze board. So that worked out real well. I wasn't sure we were going to be able to do that, but it just fit perfectly. It was the lumpy nature of the house allowed us that. If you're doing it in new construction, you want to try to plan for that. Just is a lot sweeter to just be able to slide that right underneath and not have to cut everything and fit it together and then caulk the joint. We did caulk the joint anyway, but we have that luxury of overlap. And of course that overlap is what keeps the weather away from the building, and it was a very easy thing to accomplish. Again, everything caulked, everything flashed in the appropriate place. This gable end is done. I think we were just finishing it up. We had finished it up last time. We had to move the staging away. You can see how nice it looks. It's extremely presentable. Again, that idea of getting behind the freeze board on the gables, we could have done that, but in my book, it's easier to cut and fit this way. On the eaves, is the front and back eaves, is a little bit different story. But man, you know, this look, the look that you get using this product is just so cool. I can't emphasize enough how happy I am with the way it came out because of the crispness. You know, what's the alternative? It's to put wood on. I've done a lot of wood siding over the years, and it just is it's a lot more difficult to deal with because it's gonna have sweep where it's kind of cupped like this, where it's gonna have bow, and when you go to lay it flat, it's gonna move out of level. So you're constantly rejiggering every clapboard to make sure that it fits right. And I love working with pine, but man, when I think about what I've seen on this building, just this building, and I've seen it in other buildings too, in terms of what has happened to that over time, and these were old growth clapboards we took off. You know, there was rot behind there were critters, they split, the paint didn't stay on. That will not be an issue with this stuff. One of the big things, I was talking to somebody about this recently, and I said, you know, we just finished siding the building, we used Hardieplank. He said, you know, down in Florida where my family's from, I spent a lot of time down there, this is all they use because it stands up to the weather. And what they're dealing with down there is in some ways amplified. We've got the freeze-thaw cycles, which are certainly an issue, but they have the humidity and the heat and all that moisture, very humid climate, and the Hardieplank stands up very well. Up here, a little bit different circumstances. We don't have quite the heat. We do have humidity, but not to the degree, but we have freeze-thaw cycles, which tend to many houses store up moisture in the walls and then blow it out in the springtime when everything thaws. And this will not suffer that consequence the way wood siding would. Of course, the other option is going to be vinyl. You put vinyl siding on, it would have been quicker and easier to put up vinyl. But you know, that is solid, it's crisp, it's razor crisp. You're not going to get that kind of look with vinyl. And if you hit vinyl at the wrong time, it's going to crack, especially in the winter. It's certainly rugged, but it's nowhere near as rugged as this stuff. And probably one of the biggest things, and I kind of like this, if you stop and think about buildings and building construction, what buildings survive? If you look over in Europe, what buildings do you see that are still around? When you look at beautiful old Italian villages and French villages and English villages, it's masonry structures. It's stone structures that have stood the test of time. And wood structures there's some around, but they don't stand up quite as well. The masonry facade, which is what we have here, we have a masonry product, I think is going to really prove itself in the long term. And we're going to see a lot more types of materials. There's a lot of types of wall coverings already Hardieplank has. We're going to see more of them, and I think they're extremely valuable for our climate. And as it turns out, pretty much across the whole country. There's probably some place where you don't want to use it, but I haven't been able to figure it out yet. And you know, we got the look, and the look, this was a nice old historic house. I took out the pictures. I photographed everything when we started this project. Took digital photos of everything, took measurements, so we would replicate everything exactly the same way that it was. And I look at the picture with the Hardieplank on it, and I look at the picture of the house with the pine clapboards on it, and it looks better. Doesn't look the same, it looks better because we don't have all that weird lumpiness, you know, the paint and the cupping, and it had everything that you see with clapboards. I don't know if you were, I remember distinctly doing a news clip about just about a year ago. I was over by that side door, and there was, you know, clapboards that just cupped right out because moisture was coming out through the wall. It was springtime, it was wet on the outside, it was wet on the backside, and the thing just started to swell and it was popping off the wall. I didn't care because I knew it was coming off. I wasn't sure we were doing this, but man, I'm really glad we made the choice. And again, the link of the Hardieplank with the ASIC trim. The ASIC trim really gives us a blending of two really good technologies because the trim is nice and crisp. Now, one thing I want to mention, they do make Hardieplank, they make some trim products now. So we can get trim like this ASIC in Hardieplank, I believe. So we could do it all in cement and not have the combination of the two, of the plastic with the cement, but they both work well together. What's nice about the plastic is when you're doing a lot of exotic things, if you need to route it or something, it'd be a little bit easier to route the plastic than it would the Hardieplank. But for this flat board trim, which is what a lot of this is, maybe even the windowsills here, it's worth just checking to see what they have on the website. By the way, you want to do a search on them. It's Hardie, H-A-R-D-I-E. So if you do Hardieplank, all one word, on the web, you'll be able to look it up and get information on the product. What else do we need to look at? Let's go over here. So in closing, he said long-windedly, I just wanted to show you the product again. Again, this comes primed. You can see the difference in the primer color versus the base material. So it comes pre-primed. It also comes pre-painted. So you don't have to paint the house right away. I mean, if you look at this, there's no fasteners to cover, except for the few that you might put in. And if you use stainless steel fasteners, they don't need to be painted right away. You can just touch them up. And the only place really you'd have to touch up would be where you were caulking. And I've used clear caulk here, and if my hands were clean, which isn't the case because I knew I was painting, it wouldn't be an issue. The other thing I just wanted to point out quickly, I did two things here that are a little bit odd. Odd things here, can you believe that? Any place I was putting a box, instead of putting the box right up against the wall and then having to trim around it because it would tend to be a little bit odd, I cut out a piece of ASIC trim and put it on, and I always put the piece of flashing because we want to make sure that the water doesn't get in behind there. I did over here, I wasn't thinking I did this actually at night. I wasn't thinking, and I put a light and a motion detector and actually the meter trim on a piece of pressure treated, and that is not as appropriate a choice. Obviously that's wood, it's going to have to be painted. It probably isn't going to hold the paint as well, but I'm not taking it off now. In hindsight, that was a faux pas on my part. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with the way the entire shell has come out. So now all I need to do is finish putting up finish doing the caulking, and then we'll be painting. There's a TV show right there. I'm painting the Hardieplank. That's going to be a real easy project. This stuff loves paint. We got to go. We're out of time. Don't forget the product is Hardieplank. Check wherever you buy materials. Hardieplank been around the longest, so I think you want to check with them first. They know what they're doing. We got to go. We'll see you next week. I was going to try hitting this over my head, but I don't think I will.
Production support for Hot and Cold is brought to you by American Solar Technics, manufacturers of components for wood burning and solar heating systems.